Public Square returns next week as host Megan Kamerick looks at the importance of early brain development on a child's learning and social development. She talks to experts, educators, and advocates, including Ellen Galinsky, founder of Mind in the Making and the author of The 7 Essential Skills Every Child Needs. Here's a look at the powerful conversation that airs next Thursday, May 30th at 7 p.m.
Those of us who have been in the trenches for a long time have always seen the need for good child development, good quality programs. That is nothing new. But what has happened in the last 12, 13 years of the research that has come forward for early childhood is phenomenal. And it's been that research, I think, has helped to shift our thinking about how we see children and how we need to meet children's needs. And without that body of research, we can't refute the fact that we need to be doing more and better for our children because it says so in what we know what children can accomplish in these younger years. And so I think it's our responsibility to really be mindful of that research and how that's going to drive our intentions.